What's up, guys? It's the old goats without any young bucks today. Cheers.
Cheers, man.
We're here to talk about the New England Patriots today, and we're going to talk a little bit about Antonio Brown and some of the crazy stuff that's going on with him. As you can see, I'm a Dolphins fan. My friend Ralph here, as you can see, he's a Lions fan, so like NFC version of the Dolphins, basically. But before I get into just bashing the Patriots, let's recap what the Patriots have been able to accomplish, which is it's remarkable. As much as I hate them, they've done some amazing things. So,
Yeah, I mean,
what's on their resume?
I mean, even if you are a Dolphins fan or whichever team you root for, by the way, let me just say, big victory today for the Honolulu Blue. Week 3, beat Philly at Philly. Huge win, but it's another
It was on the road?
on the road.
Okay. I'll give you props for that.
Thank you. But back to the subject at hand here. Patriots. Well, what can I say? Not a fan. I don't hate them. I don't think I hate them. But me being rooting for the NFC team. I mean,
I
I
mean,
don't really despise them, but I don't like them. They're not
we
really
were rooting
likable.
against them last year when
Yeah.
we saw the Chiefs, who I think will be the heir to the throne eventually, Mahomes and the Chiefs. I mean, we were there and we saw that Super Bowl. You wanted them to lose.
Yeah, I mean, I think more.
But you don't hate them.
Nah, I don't hate them, but you got to give them props. You got to give them credit where credit is due. They're a juggernaut team. Since Brady's been in the league since 2000. They've dominated pretty much the AFC. You got to say it. Belichick took over a little bit before Brady got there.
I think they're the same era, 2000. Both of them.
Robert Kraft, has owned the team since '94.
Yeah.
In total, they got six Super Bowl rings.
Yeah.
They got let's see. Let me go to my hands.
Was it 11?
11 AFC championships, which is
Most of this stuff is all in the last 20 years because pre-2000,
they were terrible. When we were kids, the Patriots were terrible.
they had that one Super Bowl against, I believe, the Packers and Brett Favre that they lost with Bledsoe.
Exactly.
And then there was the one they lost to the 85 Bears, which I think the Dolphins were in running to play that game. It would have been super interesting because the Dolphins were one of the few teams, or the only team to beat the Bears in the regular season when they were undefeated that year.
Right.
Anyways, I'm getting off because Patriots have accomplished a lot. What else do they have?
AFC championships, 20, which is crazy. And
20 AFC championships?
20. And then this is
What was the 11 that you said? 11 Super Bowl appearances? Oh my God.
Yeah. And then you got 26 playoff appearances.
And this is all in the last 20 years.
And only 5 of those were before the Belichick Brady era.
Of those playoff appearances.
They've only missed the playoffs 2 years since Belichick and Brady's been there, which is pretty fucking ridiculous.
Yeah, I think you mentioned when we were preparing, they lost Brady's second year. They didn't make the playoffs.
2002 and 2008, I think you mentioned.
Yeah, that's when he blew out his knee week 1, and the
Right.
Dolphins won the division that year with Chad Pennington.
Water pistol Pennington.
Yeah, he had a great year though that year, man. He really. That was the last thing we ever did, and that was 12 years ago, and Brady was not there. Any other good stuff to say about them before we get into the lashing?
That's about it. But let's, like the old saying says, if you're going to tell a story, tell it from the beginning, right? Nickerson Field was the first actual field they played at, what was called when they came from the AFL to as the Boston Patriots.
Yeah.
They came over from the AFL to the NFL. They played at Nickerson Field, and actually, you showed me the video today, which was fucking hilarious.
That's insane.
They called it Leapgate, right?
Leapergate.
Leapergate.
Yeah.
So explain to them exactly what Leapergate was. A lot of people don't know about this.
Yeah, it's crazy. This is the first time I heard about it preparing. It's one of the earliest examples of cheating that the franchise has been associated with. 1961, if I'm not mistaken. They're playing against the Dallas Texans, who are today known as the Kansas City Chiefs. And Kansas City quarterback throws a bomb. The guy gets tackled like at the 3-yard line. There's a little commotion on the field. They think the game's over. Some people come onto the field. They finally usher the people off the field. They allow them to line the end zone for the last play of the game with 3 seconds left.
Right.
The Dallas Texans quarterback drops back to pass, and like right as they're hiking the ball, there's a fan that comes in, kind of ducking down behind the offensive line. The guy drops back to pass. That fan stands up and swats down a ball.
Amazingly so. I hope the fucking Detroit Lions had that guy's DB.
He looked like he played some football before, because he swatted that ball down from almost like a linebacker position, which is hard to do. You usually see defensive linemen block balls. I don't think we've ever seen that before, probably.
No,
Have we ever seen a fan on the field committing a play? Well, that's the Patriots. They have that feather in their cap, along with many others.
That's basically the birth of their cheating ways.
That we know. You know, there's things in human history that have happened before that we don't know about, but this one is confirmed. We know about that one.
That's the first confirmed on video, at least.
Yeah. Look it up. I don't want you to leave the video right now, but look it up later. Leapergate. It's shocking. Old footage, but you can clearly see what happened.
To mention the other stadiums that they played they shared the stadium with the Red Sox.
That's a little known fact to me.
Yeah, Fenway Park from 63 to 68. Didn't know that. Then they played at Alumni Stadium.
Man, how does that even work? Can you imagine a football field inside Fenway? That's like
I mean, it was in the 60s, you know.
Do you even have 100 yards in there? All right.
Then they played at Alumni Stadium, Harvard Stadium, Foxborough Stadium, and then today they play at Gillette Stadium.
I imagine Foxborough Stadium, that was not their good old days. I had the record somewhere. I mean, they've been amazing this century, but in the 90s they started to turn it around. Not that great in the 80s, other than their Super Bowl win. In the 70s, not that good. And in their AFL days, which I think were in the 60s, they were not that great either.
Right.
The Dolphins have been beat by them a lot, but they still hold the series lead, which is amazing. That tells you how bad they were before this current run of greatness.
Right. Well, you told me the league average versus Brady is what, 23% winning percentage?
Yeah, let me check my notes. I believe they lose in this Brady-Belichick era only 23% of the time, which that's insane.
Yeah. Crazy.
I mean, they go 14-2, 13-3, 12-4 is like a down year. However, just to say this, there's a couple of teams that have been successful against them more than the league average. One of which is the Miami Dolphins. They beat them about 32% of the time, 23-11. Your team has been 2-4 against them, which is about 33%. They had that win last year, which
big win.
Yeah, that ties into something else I researched about coaches.
Right, whoever's an offspring of Belichick.
Yeah,
whenever they take over, they're terrible, beating any other team. But when they play them, they do decent.
Yes, his disciples do well against him, but not so well overall. Some of the more, I guess the most successful one, and I don't know how this guy hasn't been fired, is Bill O'Brien down in Houston.
Right.
But if you look at Josh McDaniels, he was not good when he had that run in Denver. I think Romeo Crennel had a run in the Browns. He was not that good there.
No.
We got one now, too, in Flores. He's 0-3.
Yeah, we got Patricia in Detroit.
First rule of Tank Club: don't talk about Tank Club. I'm forgetting other major disciples of his that there's been, and they just haven't been successful. But they always do well against him.
And not to shuffle back, back and forth. I know we talked about back in the 60s what happened first, but in the news right now, or was in the news about a week ago, about the whole Antonio Brown deal going on.
That's the latest.
Not really cheating, but, it's just
questionable,
controversy. A lot of controversy.
Low moral compass, I'll call it.
The Belichick is almost like a halfway house for like fucked up players. Like he takes he takes in the drug addicts, the rapists, the murderers.
Who used to do that? Do you remember who used to do that back when we were young? There was a team that was well known for that.
Raiders?
Yeah, the Raiders were super well known for bringing outcast players, people had drug issues,
steroid cases.
Yeah, they would bring in all those wackos and they would play good there, Lyle Zato and all those kind of guys.
But God bless his soul.
Yeah. Shout out to Lyle Zato. Did you know he fought Muhammad Ali once? It was like an exhibition, but it's crazy.
I heard about that.
Yeah. But they're different styles. The Raiders would bring him in, and they would still be crazy. When they come into the Patriots,
it's like he would like tranquilize them.
Yeah, it's like they become another person.
Right.
I even saw a little bit of that in Antonio Brown when they did some interviews. He was like, he was so humble. I think one of the only interview he had as a Patriot. So, tell us a little bit. Do you know some of the things?
Well, the
whole Antonio Brown saga.
Well, I heard a little bit here and there, read something, I know there was like the personal trainers, the first one that made the accusation with the sexual misconduct, or I don't know if she actually said that he raped her or something. Or,
yeah, I think she did.
Right, and then there was the other girl, which was like the artist or something that he had hired.
Yeah,
and she was doing like a mural at one of his houses or something, and he came out like naked with like a washcloth like covering his cock and balls, and then he like just stood there in front of her when she was on her knees like trying to paint the mural or something.
He was trying to
crazy
do some of his own painting. But even a little bit further before this stuff, stuff started stinking at the Raiders because he did that frostbitten feet thing and that therapy.
He did Chucky dirty, man.
The helmet thing.
Yeah.
Then he has the confrontation with Mike Mayock.
Right.
Then they fine him. Then he starts putting conversations that are recorded, that are private with Chucky, John Gruden on YouTube. Then he starts posting pictures of his fines.
Right.
Some people say, man, this guy always wanted to be a Patriot. The Steelers would never trade him to that rival. So they shipped him off to Oakland. He always wanted to be a Patriot. He found his way.
Right.
Some people say that. I don't know.
So it does kind of link in with what we're talking about, because it's all about the Patriots and always bending the rules.
That's the Patriot way, right?
Yeah.
Bending the rules.
Patriot way. Like bending the rules until somebody says something.
Until they stop you.
Right. And then, okay, well, we didn't know.
Right.
And then they go back to...
Or there wasn't a rule against that, so that's why he did it. There's been more rules made for them.
I think Belichick is more like he just knows... He's just like a bookworm that he really knows the rules and knows the system. And then he just like exploits the little ins and outs.
Yeah, it's definitely like a smart...
Wish he was my fucking coach.
Yeah, I mean, you would want your team, I would suppose, to do... You obviously would. They win all the time.
Right.
I'm wondering, though, like, how would you feel?
I wonder if that gets old, though. Like, if you live, like, in Boston or somewhere.
I saw the saddest...
Does that get old? Like, you just, like, you don't even feel like watching the game because you know they're going to, like, dominate.
I don't know. Those people...
It's almost like having, like a super hot wife, you know? And, like, you fuck her every day or every night. It will get old, you know? You want to fuck, like, an old, dirty-looking chick once in a while, you know?
Okay, but try being a Dolphin fan for a little while. That's what I tell those people when I go to the games, because they're so brash. They even lose. The last time we went, I think it was the Miami Miracle, which you might be able to see over Ralph's shoulder over there. I have immortalized Rob Gronkowski falling on his face there with Drake scoring that touchdown. But they were talking shit after that game. Right. They were like, ha ha ha, that's your Super Bowl. We're going to win the real one. And damn it, they were right. So I lost.
Wicked awesome.
Yeah, wicked awesome, man. I lost my train of thought. What were we talking about?
We were talking about the cock and balls and the lady painting the mural for him.
They bit off more than they can chew there.
Yeah.
He's gone. They cut him.
So got way too much shit going on. Not even Belichick could save him.
Nike got rid of him. The helmet company got rid of him. I mean, he's played in one game for 3 teams now this year, which is just insane.
Hey, you never know. Look at Gordon.
That's another questionable one. That guy's been suspended probably more often than not. Last year, he was going to be suspended. I think he, suspended himself.
Right.
Which I think is another Patriot trick where they're like, just suspend yourself. We'll get you back next year.
Right.
And they did. That probably should have been a lifetime ban, but there he is. Whatever. I don't want to... If he turned his life around, great. I'm not so sure we've seen the last suspension for him. They had a couple injuries today. I don't know how serious they were. Edelman, I saw, got hurt, and I can't remember who the other receiver was. So all of a sudden, the receiving core is dwindled. They had Demaryius Thomas to start the year. They cut him, they didn't put him on the team. Then they got him on the team when anybody could have got him, and Adam Gase then gave them a draft pick for them.
Right.
Which was the first draft pick in the first trade between, not the first draft pick, the first trade between the Jets and the New England Patriots since
Belichick.
Since the Belichick trade, which they had to trade a first-round draft choice from the Patriots to the Jets. You remember that whole Belichick saga?
Yeah. I remembered it vaguely, but today, we touched bases on it, and you kind of went through it with me.
Yeah, he obviously had his days in Cleveland as a head coach, which weren't that great. His last year, I think they started turning it around.
I don't think anybody's had a good coaching career in Cleveland.
No, they would make the playoffs a lot and just have heartbreak in the 80s. Remember the drive? That was against them. The fumble? That was them. I hope Cleveland turns it around one day. I'm not sure what's going on in tonight's game. I thought they were going to be great. Everybody was writing them a bye. Anyway, so he started off there. He didn't do that great. Browns get eliminated. They become the Ravens. They didn't take him over. He goes to New England with Parcells, I believe. He becomes like a defensive coach. Parcells goes over to the Jets. He goes with him to the Jets. I think Parcells leaves. They give him the job. He writes that little note on a piece of paper, I resign as HC of the Jets.
Right.
He then goes to the Patriots, and they have to give him a first-round draft pick. That's kind of the history of how he got there, and that's the first draft pick. So there's just too much crazy shit going on with the Patriots, and we forget about some of it, I think, sometimes.
Well, like the Spygate.
Spygate is one.
Well, sorry to cut you off. We were drinking a White Walker, a little tribute here to Game of Thrones.
Shout out, Game of Thrones.
Yeah, a little shout out there. It's White Walker by Johnny Walker. It's pretty good.
It's pretty good, man.
Not bad.
I thought
not bad.
It'd be harder to drink. I'm not a big whiskey drinker.
It's not bad. Not bad at all.
Yeah, I'll take a little bit more of that. Spygate.
Spygate. That was against Rex Ryan when Rex Ryan was coach of the...
Well, I think that's the straw that broke the camel's back, but they had probably obviously done it
many
many times. Even Marshall Faulk of the Rams has accused them of filming their walkthrough in that first Super Bowl that they won.
Right.
And that's never been proven, but he's... A lot of those Rams from that. I mean, that team was amazing, man.
Yeah, greatest show on turf, huh?
Yeah, bro. They would. I don't know what their averages were, but I'm pretty sure they were scoring around 40 points a game, and there was a lot of games they scored over 50 points. And Marshall Faulk, Azahir Hakeem, Isaac Bruce, Torrey Holt, Kurt Warner, they just shut them down. They just shut that offense down, and they say it's almost like they knew the plays.
So obviously the controversy is a lot of people might think, either there's a lot of salty people out there that hate the Patriots and just coming up with different, theories of how they cheat.
Conspiracy theories?
Yeah, what edges they have, against the team, And of course people that are Patriots fans would say, you guys are just a bunch of fucking salty assholes.
You guys are losers. You're just mad because we win all the time.
But there's facts, though.
However,
there's facts.
Well, they've been punished by the league.
Right. So there's got to be a little truth behind it, right?
Well, I think there's a lot of truth behind it. Well, I mean, your quarterback, who in my opinion has been smeared because he was suspended 4 games for deflating footballs.
Right.
That happened. He's never going to take that back.
Garoppolo won like 3 of those 4.
Yeah, one of them against the Dolphins. And then that's another thing they do is they trick other teams. The rest of the teams are stupid. They trick other teams into taking their crap, even though I think Garoppolo's going to be a good quarterback. But in the past, they've tricked teams into taking their crap-ass backups, because Brady doesn't like really competition, into getting draft picks.
Right.
They had, I'm trying to remember, they traded Jacoby Brissett to the Colts. I'm not sure he's a crap-ass quarterback yet. That's a recent one. But previous to that, there's a couple guys. Man, I can't remember the name. One of them went to the Chiefs. He's the guy who filled in for Brady, I think, when he blew out his knee.
Right.
Maybe you can check that for me. Some of Brady's backups over the years. I know they've traded a few away, and they've gotten draft picks, and those guys haven't done anything anywhere. I'm drawing a blank on some of those guys' names right now. The Josh McDaniels going to the Colts thing, that was dirty.
Very.
I've never heard of it. Well, our University of Miami coach kind of pulled the same thing. Under different circumstances, their coach quit. Remember Manny Hernandez? Is it Manny Hernandez? Manny Hernandez? I'm sorry, the University of Miami Hurricanes coach, he signed on with, I think, was it Rutgers or Syracuse? One of those two. And then, he got offered the job back here and he came back. But anyways, that was weird because that was coming off the Deflategate scandal. What's that payback for
Damon
Deflategate?
Heward.
Damon Heward. Well, he's an ex-Dolphin. That was one of his backups.
Yeah.
There's another guy. Draw a total blank on the guy's name.
Rohan Davey.
He was a former HML quarterback.
Matt Castle, that's the one.
That's one of the guys.
That's one you were thinking about.
Yeah, Matt Castle was
to the Chiefs.
Yeah, there's another one of the same elk.
That was one of the ones that he bamboozled.
Yeah, that they tricked other teams into.
Doug Flutie.
Yeah, no, Doug Flutie got there at the end of his career.
Yeah, he was a bum.
Yeah, they had him do that drop kick extra point. Come on, man. Really, bro?
Brian Hoyer.
Brian Hoyer was originally a backup and then later a backup of theirs again.
Ryan Mallett.
I think did they get drafted?
Jacoby Brissett.
I think Ryan Mallett was traded too.
Yeah, he was.
Ryan Mallett was like a clone
of course, Garoppolo, but Garoppolo's going to be decent. Though.
I think he's going to be a good quarterback. They're 3-0 right now.
Well, go ahead. Touch more on the Spygate. What was going on with the Spygate?
Well, Spygate was basically they were filming signals, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
So, like from the defensive coaches or players into the field for plays. Supposedly they didn't know that it was not allowed, but they were fined for that, and I think docked the draft. So that's confirmed.
Yeah, they lost. I think they lost 2 draft picks that year or something.
Yeah, they were definitely
first rounder and like a 4th rounder, I think.
Punished for that.
Right. Which it didn't matter because they probably won the Super Bowl that year, but yeah.
Yeah, I'm gonna intertwine punishments with scumbags they've had play for them over the years. All NFL teams have them. They just seem to have more of them.
Right.
And back in the day, they were a little bit different in the way that they handled them.
A plethora of them.
Yeah, definitely. Christian Peter. A lot of people may not remember him. And I don't remember what college he came out of. But he was a guy who they drafted in the 5th round. And this was back when Myra Kraft was still around. Robert Kraft's ex-wife. This is pre-massage days here. Maybe she was doing the massages at that point. I don't know. Anyways, she was kind of like the moral person with some ethics in the organization. They drafted that guy, but he had a few charges, convictions in college. There was some groping situation. He put a woman in a chokehold at one time.
Wow.
They drafted him in the 5th round.
It's illegal?
Yeah, in some states, apparently, you can't do that. They either didn't do their homework or they just didn't give a shit. They drafted him in the 5th round. There's some uproar in the Boston area. They don't think it's wicked awesome. And she starts saying that maybe they shouldn't have that guy. And it's one of the either only or few times. It was the first time, I don't know if it's happened since, in history that a drafted player got cut before training camp.
Wow.
this is the polar opposite of Antonio Brown. They welcome that guy with open arms.
Right.
Here, they're like, whoa, we can't even have that guy on our team. Which leads me to MassageGate. What happened? We don't hear about that anymore.
Well,
That just went away, right?
Oriental masseuse, happy endings.
There's that footage, man. He does not want that footage to come out. But
you would think a guy with that much money, like...
What are you doing, man? Get a high-class whore, dude. Why are you going there?
You could have 50 Asian women come to your house. Like, why even go there?
Why? That's what really doesn't make sense. Why you're in that low-life place before, a playoff game or something.
Maybe he's cheap, You never know.
Maybe he's frugal and he was like, you know what? This is a good deal. They get the job done. Anyways, that thing went away. Nobody's talking about it. Right. They delayed it. I don't know what's going on. But
another one that was that you talked about today, back in the day, the Snowplow game.
Oh my God!
Yeah. A lot of people don't know about the Snowplow game, but Dolphins fans sure know.
Yeah, 1982. The Dolphins are playing up in New England in a snow-covered field. It's a slop fest. Very few passes. Just running the ball. No touchdowns. Fourth quarter, there had been a snowplow uncovering the yard marker so they know where they're at. And when the Patriots go to kick their field goal, they call that guy out, and he plows the area where the field goal is to be kicked from. Right. They kick their field goal. They go ahead at 3-zip. Don Shula goes ape shit. Later on that game, they say, they had their chance. They offered them the snowplow. Shula wouldn't take it. He thought that game would be overturned because of that unfair advantage. Right. It wasn't overturned. It ended up being a loss for the Dolphins. Another instance where they changed rules. That was not allowed after that, right? If I'm not mistaken. Snowplow game, 1982. Look it up, kids. Another earlier instance of wrongdoing.
Something we missed before Spygate, there was the tuck rule.
That's what started all this shit.
Right. For all you Raiders fans out there, I know you're out there.
God bless you. I love the Raiders too. That's a team I always root for.
I know Tom Brady broke your heart that year.
That franchise has never recovered from that.
Right.
So that's the year Bledsoe gets hurt.
Right.
If Bledsoe never gets hurt, maybe we never find out.
The cheating never starts.
Well, the cheating
has started already.
But maybe it doesn't progress.
Right.
Anyway, Bledsoe gets hurt. This guy comes in. He beats Peyton Manning in his first game. I've hated him since day one. I'm not afraid to be a hater here. Those were my gambling days back then, and I said rookie quarterback, Tom Brady. Who is this guy? Playing against Peyton Manning, future Hall of Famer. He won that game. Tom Brady won that game. Anyways, later in the year, against the Raiders, I remember watching that game live, and I'm like, they're going to screw the Raiders. Charles Woodson hits him. Tuck rule. It's a fumble. Patriots fans will say that same thing, or Belichick said it, and it's true. That same rule. That was a newer rule. It had happened to them earlier. But it's a CAG, man. They on a CAG,
right?
On a lucky ass play, they get to progress. And I know they say when you're good, it's easier to have good luck. When you're bad, it's just gonna have bad luck, because it's just like the rich get richer, the poor get poor.
Right.
But look at some of their Super Bowls, and I'll just go off the top of my head. The first Super Bowl was against the Rams.
Right.
They won a close game. Right? They didn't blow anybody. The second Super Bowl, they won against. Was that the Carolina one?
I think so. With the home. The home.
Yeah, they beat them. I think on a field goal.
Right.
At the end, if I'm not mistaken. Then they beat. I think the Eagles was one of the ones they beat. Even though Terrell Owens put on a great performance there with injury. But I think that's one of the ones they won the easiest. Then you have the most recent three, which in my opinion are like two out of those three are the craziest. The
Seahawk
Seattle
one's got to be the craziest of all. Yeah.
How can you explain that? Remind everybody what happened in that Seahawks one.
Well, they were in the.
I'm sure
they
everybody
were in the
knows.
red zone. Where like in the 2nd-yard line or like the 3rd-yard line. They got Marshawn Lynch of all people at
One of
running
the
back.
best running backs at the time.
Guy's not going down. First contact. They instead of handing the ball off to Marshawn Lynch, they decide to throw a little slant. What was it, like a little slant pattern right at the end zone? And Butler,
Malcolm Butler.
That's another
story
that's
for another Super Bowl.
Malcolm Butler intercepts and pretty much end the game.
Yep, he
That
jumps the
sealed the
route,
deal.
he intercepts it, he seals a Super Bowl. That man won a Super Bowl for Belichick, and later
Gets benched.
he gets benched in a Super Bowl. That's just insane. Who does that? And he's such a Sith Lord that. But I don't think Malcolm Butler has yet told
It's
the
just fucking
story.
crazy.
He's on another team, and he still is like. That's
He's
like when
fucking
people leave
using,
communism from
Star
Cuba.
Wars, Star Wars.
My grandma, I remember they used to come visit from Cuba, and she still couldn't, even while she was here, she wouldn't talk bad about communism.
Right.
It's
Or
like-
talk loud.
So he must have got so brainwashed as a patriot that he still can't talk about that shit. We're just recapping the wins. They lost a couple Super Bowls too. They thank God for Eli Manning. Shout out to Eli Manning. He's
Well, the Manning brothers.
and
The
Peyton.
Manning brothers combined have beat the Patriots 5 times in the playoffs?
They have stopped him 5 times in the playoffs.
That's amazing.
I mean, can you imagine
Superman and Bizarro.
how obnoxious? Yeah, those Patriots fans would be if they had 11 championships. We'd be talking about like they'd be calling him the greatest athlete in the world. 11 championships, which I think Bill Russell had 11 in basketball.
Yeah, that would be ridiculous. I mean, it's 6 already.
That's ridiculous.
It's already ridiculous. as it
It's
is,
already
but,
the most.
I mean, 11. I mean, you don't even have. Well, you got 10 fingers, right? You know,
Yeah, you gotta start putting them on your toes at that point.
Cock ring.
So, shout out to. I'm just gonna keep going. Shout out to Eli. Shout out to Peyton. Peyton beat him 3 times in the AFC playoffs. Eli twice in the Super Bowl. Shout out to Nick Foles. He got the job done with the Eagles.
Yeah. Got injured though.
Yeah.
Yeah, poor guy.
I like their guy now, Gardner Minshew II, which is funny because there is no Gardner Minshew the first. They just named him Gardner Minshew II.
Sounds like some character like from some anime cartoon.
Yeah, he's a curious guy. The one that's unforgivable, that Pete Carroll passing, not handing off to the best running back in the NFL,
that was-
unforgivable.
Not that Pete Carroll's a likable guy, but yeah.
No, he did that whole choke thing against the Dolphins one time. I don't know if
he's
you
a
remember
dick.
that. Yeah, never
More
liked
like an
that guy.
extra, like a cheerleader more than a coach.
He got busted out in USC for all that those infractions they had. I think they got stripped of a championship. Reggie Bush, I think, got stripped of his Heisman. He's not an upstanding citizen either.
Nah, he's not.
But if you thought the Seattle thing was crazy, the Falcons.
Nah. Let me tell you something. If you live in Atlanta and you're a Falcons fan, I'm sorry.
There was probably some suicides that day.
I'm sorry, because let me tell you something. I'm a Lions fan and I've been through a lot of bullshit, but that's like my biggest
That's another podcast.
that's like my worst nightmare. To have a great season, dominate in the playoffs, make it to the Super Bowl, dominate the first half, and then just shit your pants.
They had that game won.
One.
I saw some ass at the Dolphins game versus the Patriots. He had a hat on, and it said the score and the time. So it was like,
Wow.
I don't remember the score. It was something ridiculous, like 35-6, third quarter, 11 minutes, something like that.
Right.
And Matt Ryan just became a piece of shit in that game, and he's never recovered. That franchise may never recover. Look at the Raiders. What happened
Matty
to them?
Ice. Matty Ice melted that.
Matty Vanilla Ice, maybe. I mean, the Raiders have never been the same. That guy's never been the same. I think they're either 500 or sub 500 since that game, and they were like in the Super
So
Bowl.
besides cheaters,
They're
these
fucking
guys
lucky.
like basically dismantle organizations. They're like destructors, saboteurs of organizations, of teams.
Yeah. The Raiders, was their Super Bowl appearance pre-Tuck rule or after Tuck rule? The one they lost to the Buccaneers.
I think it was after. I'm not sure though.
Okay, yeah.
Not a big Raiders fan, but
neither here nor there. I root for them. They're one of the teams. There's a
yeah,
couple teams
I
that
like Chucky. You know, Chucky's a decent guy.
They're
I think
an old
Antonio
AFL
Brown
team.
did Chucky pretty dirty, man.
But look, man,
Chucky was sticking up for him. And,
they would have had to been dealing with all this bullshit.
Yeah,
if they would have had him. So they
right
did the
about
right
that.
thing, man. They did the right thing. Then you have the Rams one. That had to be the boringest Super Bowl of all time.
Worst.
Probably. What was the final score in that
I
game?
don't remember. It was
10
terrible.
something. I don't know.
It was terrible.
Just the Rams couldn't do anything, and they had the Wonder Boy. What's the name of their coach? Sean McVay.
Yeah,
They couldn't muster anything against him. So they've been super fortunate, when I was young, I don't know if you felt the same. Probably not, because I was always a Dolphins fan. But the 49ers were the team I never really liked, and they were great,
49ers and the Cowboys.
Yeah, later the Cowboys.
Yeah.
Those are like the dynasties.
We're like in high school, the Cowboys were pretty dominant.
And there's always
I think every cocksucker in Hialeah High
jumper
would wear a fucking Michael Irvin or Troy
Yeah.
Aikman or Emmitt Smith jersey.
Yeah. Well, those people are now Patriots fans.
Not us.
A lot of them. No. I would never. I'd rather die.
Let's not get carried away, but
so those were like the dynasties. The Niners, the Cowboys. This one is exaggerated. This is a 20-year dynasty.
Right.
Unheard of.
Right.
The Cowboys were good for like 6-7 years. The Niners were kind
You
of...
know what's weird about the Patriots? I haven't seen too many
those cubes in there, buddy.
Sure, please. I haven't seen too many of Patriot fans, but what I have seen, I washed my hands.
Go ahead, man. That's fine.
I haven't seen too many Patriots fans, but what I have seen are
Thank you.
Brady fans. I've seen a lot of that in Florida, in Miami.
People who've never set foot in New England.
They've never been
Probably.
to New England area. They don't like the Patriots, but they root for Brady. It's like almost like they've got in their ass reamed so many times that they stop liking the Dolphins.
Is that Stockholm syndrome when you start liking your...
Yeah, your captor. You're a hostage, but you start liking the captor. Exactly. So there's Stockholm syndrome here in Miami.
I've seen this. I've seen people who are alleged Dolphin fans, but sometimes wear a Tom Brady jersey.
Wow.
Which, that's impossible, dude.
Yeah,
that's like
terrible.
if you're... I'm not going to talk about Hitler. All right, forget it. It just doesn't make sense, all right? It doesn't make sense. Well, how could you be a fan of that and this?
Right.
Those are two things you don't... Anyways. Reading over my
So back
notes
to your
here.
Star Wars reference. So the Dolphins will be part of the Rebel Alliance and...
The Resistance, you mean?
Right.
Oh, who is the Resistance?
Right.
All right, let's shout out. You talking about like the Manning guys?
Right. They're like pretty much like Han Solo, Luke Skywalker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're like a little Ewok that got on their leg at one time and held them down, slowed them down a little bit.
Oh, man.
Are you leading me to the people who haven't stopped them that should have? Is that where you're taking me?
That's what I was trying to like...
Okay,
I was trying to
segue.
lure you. Yeah,
All
there
right.
you go.
Okay, so who is the team that is supposed to be the second best team in the AFC during this dark time, as I call it?
Black and gold, right?
Yeah, they're black and gold. The Pittsburgh
Right.
Steelers. Those
Right.
people, they've won one Super Bowl during this era. They're supposed to be the second best team
Right.
in that era. Yet, when they play the New England Patriots, trying to find my notes here, in the Tom Brady era, they are 3-12.
Stinking it up, Steelers. Stinking it up.
3-12. That, I don't even know what percentage that is.
It's fucking terrible.
It's really bad, is what I know it is. So that's been no resistance whatsoever. 0-3 in the playoffs. 9-3. Brady is 4-0 at home against the Steelers. 3-0 in the playoffs against the Steelers. If you're the second best team and you would have just done what the Dolphins did. Just do that. Just do what the Dolphins or Lions did.
Hey, I like that.
You know, I thought I had the percentage. Winning 3 out of 12, I think that's like not even. Is that 20%? I think it's 20%.
I don't know.
It's less than the league average, and it's less what the Dolphins have done, and it's less than what the Lions and a couple other teams. Ravens used to give them a hard time. They beat them a couple times in the playoffs. If that team would have done, anything,
the Colts gave them a hard time.
Yeah, under Manning, Andrew Luck Colts. I mean, it wasn't just the footballs that got deflated. Andrew Luck's balls got deflated that game too. Shout out to Andrew Luck, but he never.
He's probably doing some Geico caveman commercial now. He retired.
It's not so easy. A caveman can do it to beat the Patriots in the playoffs. He couldn't do it. So we have them to blame. They could have knocked them out a couple times. Maybe we're talking about just 4 or 3 Super Bowls, which is more drinkable. And this is more drinkable than I thought it was going to be.
Well,
once it gets flowing, right?
A couple.
Yeah. What else do I have to say? Things that they've been punished for before that I didn't mention. They've gotten in trouble for manipulating the injury list, injury report. There's been
the practice squad stuff that you mentioned.
That too, yeah. Where like they did it to you guys last year. They were going to play you guys the week before.
Would have made a difference. I mean, it's still kind of unethical to do. But
yeah. So the injury report, the way they manipulate that is they'll say somebody's injured, that's not injured, put them on the injured list. They get like an extra roster spot for a time, and then sometimes they would use it as punishment. I've heard some players say that. The practice squad or taxi squad thing is 10 players that are not on the active roster, but they get to practice with the team. They generally mimic the future opponent's offense, and then practice squad players are not protected, so Dolphins could pick a guy off your practice squad.
Fresh pickings for anybody.
Yeah, they're like there's a pool of those players on every team. So 300 players are on practice squads right now that any team can go and grab. The only thing is you got to put them on your active roster. You can't grab them to put them on your practice squad. Belichick uses that to his advantage extremely. I started researching it a little bit last year. He did it like at about a third of the games. I was already kind of into the second half of the season, and I stopped because it was taking long to do it. But a third of the time, he'll pick off some guy from your team.
Right.
And he's going to get as many plays as he can from that guy. Right. He's going to get as much information. Right. What are they running? What have they been doing? And then a lot of the times that guy will be cut the following week. Or
recognize formations,
Any little thing to get an edge.
Yeah, it's, hey, shit. Fucking people win World Poker Tours, Just getting a little bit of an edge, So...
Yeah. They're going to do everything they can to get an edge. They've done that. They've proven that. They'll do whatever until you get caught. And, there's that old saying, if you're not cheating, you're not trying, right?
Right. How about the Deflategate?
The Deflategate had been... Other teams had been saying that.
Right.
So he got punished with that one. It was against the Colts in a playoff game.
Got a 4-game suspension.
4-game suspension. I believe they intercepted the ball. That's how they noticed. And then when they did a check of the balls, the only one that wasn't deflated was the kicking ball, which is not beneficial for that ball to be deflated.
Right.
They got punished for it, that's all I can say.
Right.
I'm not going to defend them on that. Some people say that it was weird that the Colts got the balls and then they noticed they were deflated. They could have deflated them.
Right.
I don't think so. It didn't matter. That's true. Patriots fans will say that. It didn't matter. They got blown out.
Right.
It's true. But, who knows how long they were doing that. How about the headsets? You heard about the headsets situation?
That in Foxborough, supposedly, there's a lot of... static and radio transmissions going through, and a lot of teams that when they travel there to play there, they have trouble calling in the plays, and and whatnot. But
Tomlin is one of the ones I've heard.
right. But supposedly, they say that the Patriots have problems with it too, but no one's really looked into it. It's always been like kind of like brushed under the rug kind of thing.
There's so many things that happen to
Yeah.
them you don't hear about in other
It's just
teams.
weird, man.
You know?
Yeah.
At a certain point, you gotta be like, man, there's too many weird things happening with this franchise that's not happening with anybody else. Tomlin claimed that he was listening to the radio broadcast of the game
Right.
in his headset. So they had no communication with the quarterbacks or the linebackers, and that when they would shut that off, because they're supposed to shut it off with both teams. So like the guy would come over, he would go check it, they would turn it back on, he would walk away, it would stop working, he would, like they were just messing with him.
Right.
He claims it happens all the time. Then again, he may be trying to save his ass because he's done terribly against the Patriots, and they're 0-3. He should be on the hot seat and probably fired. Thank God we have their draft pick. That's going to be a high draft pick. We could end up with the first and second pick in the draft.
I think after this season, they'll let him go.
I mean, he won a Super Bowl early on, so that gets you.
I mean, Roethlisberger's at the end of his rope.
Yeah.
He's most likely not coming back after that injury.
That team has changed
That
so
team
much.
is, I mean, from the original, like,
Bell, Brown, Roethlisberger. They're
the
not,
three,
none of them are
the
there.
killer bees. There's only one bee left, and he's probably at home getting fat as fuck,
Yeah.
drinking and eating.
He looks like a guy who'll be susceptible to getting fat as fuck.
So, I mean, I think Tomlin is probably at the end of his rope.
Yeah. They're
Which
They're
is
bad.
a shame because I think he's a great coach, man.
I don't think he's a great coach.
No?
I can't say you're a great coach if you haven't found a way to beat your number one rival.
Yeah,
You know?
that's true.
Or even hold your own. Hold your own.
I think the Ravens is like their number one rival, though, not the Patriots. I think
It depends on
I think the Patriots are like the juggernauts.
What's your goal every year?
Right.
What's the Steelers' goal every year? Because
Yeah,
they have
win the-
6
win the
Super Bowls.
Yeah.
You know, they talk the most shit about Super Bowls and all
Right.
that, which that's going to be another podcast. I'm going to talk about why do we only talk about Super Bowls? There's NFL championships.
Right.
The NFL existed before the Super Bowl. The Super Bowl is AFL, NFL era thing.
Right.
The Packers are the greatest team of all time if you consider if you consider most championships.
Why would you say that, though?
Because I do anything I can to diminish the Patriots' accomplishments.
Yeah, man. Come on, man. Killing me.
If you go by championships, I think they have 13, including Super Bowls, including the first 2. The trophies named after their coach.
Yeah.
You know, the Lions, that helps them. The Lions, unfortunately, have not won any Super Bowls, right?
Yeah.
But they do have some NFL championships.
AFL.
AFL championships?
Yeah.
How many?
I think 3.
Okay. So you would be a proponent of the let's count championships.
Oh, yeah. Let's see.
The Patriots, did we already talk about the luck of their division that they're in?
No. Yeah,
That's another thing on their side.
that's luck, coming from a Dolphins fan, but
Bad luck for us. Good luck for them.
Yeah, it is luck. I mean, you're right. I mean,
That's the luck of the
they're
draw.
in a weak division. Yeah,
They may be in the weakest division.
yeah,
And Jets, Bills, Dolphins.
right.
The Bills have not been good. I think they made the playoffs a year ago or 2, but
Since they had that 4 Super Bowl appearances,
yeah, that they
back to
lost
back.
all 4.
right.
Jim Kelly era. The Jets had that little run with Mark Sanchez, which I don't even know how the hell they did that, but
The
that was
punt
like
fumble.
yeah. Then he started buffing. That was like 2 years.
I mean, the run. They made the playoffs. They won like
They got to AFC Championship.
they got to AFC Championship game, but I think Rex Ryan hyped up. I don't know, man. I don't know. I wasn't sold.
I'm saying that's the best of their
Right,
era.
right,
That's
right,
the best we got.
Right.
A butt fumbling
Right.
Rex Ryan coach team that made the
I mean,
AFC.
when we were kids, the Jets' defense was pretty nasty.
Yeah, the Dolphins used to spank them all the
Yeah,
time, though.
they used to spank 'em.
They used to spank the Patriots all the time, too. The Dolphins were the class of that division for a long time, and then this shit happened. The Bills, that was the first thing. So the Dolphins have had 30 years or so of, like, the best team in the AFC.
Right.
in their division. So when teams talk about what's the one that the Texans are in? I think the Colts are in that same division.
What's the AFC South, right?
Yeah, that division is a joke.
Yeah.
Like, I think the Dolphins, not now. We're not going to talk about Tank Club. That's the first rule of Tank Club. But in years past, the Dolphins probably would have been a perennial playoff team. And if you put in that division, and if you put somebody like,
I mean, but I think anybody who roots for any team could have an argument about that. You know, like us, like we've had Brett Favre for fucking 13 seasons, fucking spanking us, and then fucking what are the chances fucking Aaron Rodgers comes along? You know,
that's one of the few back-to-back Hall of Fame quarterbacks.
Yeah.
Has that ever happened?
No, just to the Lions. That's it. You know.
So you have your own little horror stories.
Pretty much.
Yeah, that's amazing with the Packers. But Aaron Rodgers, they're not winning the Super Bowl every year.
They're not, but they're 3-0. They're 3-0, and
they're 3-0 this year.
Yeah,
look at that.
When they're healthy, and
I mean, how much longer is Rodgers going to be around?
I'll give him probably like 4 or 5 more seasons.
Because we're like at a changing of the guard with the quarterbacks right now.
Yeah. He's a little more mobile.
Breeze got injured.
He's got injured a couple of times, and he gets, he likes to run around. So
Ben's injured.
That's another thing that we got to talk about. Brady
never gets injured.
Never gets injured.
They blew out his knee.
Never gets sacked.
You know what year they blew out his knee? The year I picked him in fantasy football. That's
2008, right?
Yeah,
2008.
When the Dolphins won the division. With the Wildcat. I think that was a Wildcat year.
Oh, Lord. I hated that year.
Oh, my God. That was awesome.
That was terrible.
They couldn't stop that play. But, yeah, the guy never gets injured.
Never gets sacked.
He's older than us. And he's still there freaking throwing touchdowns.
He should be here. You think he'll come?
No. I wouldn't invite him here. Actually, I would. Who am I kidding?
He'll be the real
Tom. Okay, I'm reading my notes here. Do I have any other cheating? Did we talk about their PEDs? Yeah, we did.
No, not the PDs.
Yeah. Talk about Edelman. He was suspended last year.
No, we didn't talk about that.
They've had a few PED suspensions. If I talked about it already, I apologize. I'm getting confused with our pre-podcast meeting. Rodney Harrison, safety for them. Brandon Spikes. Jermaine Cunningham, Brandon Bolden, who was also a Dolphin at one point.
How about the Chung guy? You said the Chung guy was
Patrick Chung is a
drug dealer.
He was indicted for possession. They think he may be a drug dealer. He's out there making plays still for them. You know who we didn't?
He's making more than plays, huh?
We talked about their cheating formation.
No.
That was one. I mean, I say cheating formation. It was legal at the time. Another instance where they changed the rules after. They did this famously to the Ravens in the playoffs.
Right.
So, I'm probably butchering this, but the 5 offensive linemen are on the line.
Right.
And then you have, you could have receivers on the sides or 2 over here, running back or whatever. That is interchangeable, but there's something about the line that they have to be off the line. They were putting like a tackle out here.
Off the line, right.
Yeah.
Like a receiver.
The Ravens were getting tricked into covering that guy when he was not supposed to be covered. They would put like the receiver in the line, and then he would go out for a pass. But they were not covering him. They couldn't figure that out. I think even in the game, the referees were saying, number 78, do not cover number 78. And
I think that's when they started saying so-and-so has become an eligible receiver.
No, I think they would say that before. But
yeah?
That's like when they bring in like an extra lineman at the line, and sometimes they throw a pass to them. That's how that happens, that you get like an extra a lineman that catches a pass. But this was like a new take on that, and again, that's Belichick being a dork and examining the rules, but they changed the rules for them. And John Harbaugh could not figure that out. We haven't talked about this comeback that they had, Aaron Hernandez.
Oof.
That guy.
Yeah, that's a whole podcast, man.
Yeah, well, I heard a podcast about him, which was interesting. A murdering, just gang-affiliated, hothead,
homosexual,
closet homosexual,
right?
Which probably that led to a lot of his anger and stuff like that,
right?
Who they could not keep him under control.
Yeah, supposedly he had a couple bodies, you know?
Yeah, he had a body count. And he shot some dude in Florida that
Killed a guy for like stepping on his shoes in a club or a bar or something, or pushing him or something.
minor infraction, like
Right.
bumping it. I don't know, it was something super minor.
He was affiliated with like the Bloods or the Crips or something. He was.
Yeah. And then he ended up he killed himself, right?
Yeah,
He hung himself, right?
hung himself in jail.
So this is the second show in a row about somebody hanging himself in jail,
Yeah,
or that features somebody hanging himself in jail.
there you go.
Aaron Hernandez, they got rid of that problem real fast. They cut his ass before they even convicted him. In what do they call it when
Indicted him.
Yeah,
Right.
they cut his ass. But Patrick Chung's out there playing. Josh Gordon's out there playing. Antonio Brown, fucking our luck. The only game he ever plays as a Patriot is against the Dolphins, catching a touchdown. He was out there playing. That got too much to handle. I don't care.
And he jumped in the stands.
He jumped on a woman, which I thought was odd, and he fell on her. She
It's
was a
ironic,
Patriot.
huh?
He's from here. I
Liberty
didn't know
City.
that until recently.
Shout out to Liberty City.
Shout out to Liberty City,
There you go.
one of the better neighborhoods in South Florida. Somebody told me the other day also he was at FIU for like a week and he had some altercation and he left
Right.
from there. What a waste of talent.
Right.
I really think the guy has...
Not to quote a Bronx Tale, but in a Bronx Tale, Robert De Niro says the worst thing in the world is a waste of talent. That's the worst thing. That's true.
Look, as much as I bash the Steelers for their failures against the Patriots, I'll tip my hat to them. They kept that guy under control all those years, which is... It's amazing that they were able to do it. The only thing I remember him doing there, besides the later fights with Ben, was that live during the locker room.
Right.
He's trying to build
And
his...
Tomlin was pretty classy too. When they asked Tomlin about him, they said, you know, as a player, he no longer plays with us, so I have nothing to say about him. And as a person, me and him haven't been on that level in a long time, so I have nothing to say about it. So, you know, Tomlin, you know, hey, he's a classy guy, you know. He could have bashed him. He could have jumped on the bandwagon and said whatever.
Yeah, I
Or
think...
put his 10 cents in, you know. But, you know, he
Kept it professional.
kept it G, you know.
Yeah. Ben said, "Good luck with that guy." I think that was his words
Yeah.
when they asked him.
Ironic from a fucking guy that was supposedly a rapist, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, scumbags are everywhere. Let's not, limit them to the Patriots. They just had a great collection of them.
Right.
Um,
Patriots.
Leapergate. That one is the most... I'm making sure I got all my notes in here. Anything you want to riff about while I'm reading my notes here?
Just want to talk about the rivalry between the Dolphins and the Patriots. You know, at the end of the day, hey, the Dolphins have been the better team throughout the years, right?
Well,
The overall record. What's the Dolphins' overall
in the
record?
lifetime of the thing?
Right,
Yeah, the Dolphins have the slight edge, even though we've been getting it handed to us in the Brady era. And when I say handed to us, it's handed to us, but in comparison to the league, we've been better.
Yeah.
But still, it's not like...
You've been finger fucked instead of vein.
Yeah, I mean...
fucked in the ass.
Yeah, they put some lube on. It's even with all that, we still have the edge. It's going
Right.
to be an edge. I hope the Dolphins...
Which is amazing because you guys play them twice a year,
Yeah.
which is a lot more than other teams.
Yeah. That just speaks to our dominance in the 70s and even 80s and how bad they were back then.
Right. Yeah, because when we were kids, the Patriots were not even talked about.
No, they made that one Super Bowl in the mid-90s.
Yeah, they were terrible.
That's when they started getting good, which is, again, the Kraft era. Pre-Kraft, They just had that 80s Super Bowl, which I don't even know how they got to that Super Bowl.
Right.
They had a good running game. I can't remember the quarterback right now. Grogan, maybe. They had Craig James, running back. He was one of the last white running backs to run for 1,000 yards. I think Peyton Hillis did it more recently, or McCaffrey's done it too. I just hope the Dolphins can get back to prominence before I die, because it's been tough to.
Yeah, it's a tough pill to swallow, man.
And I go out to all those games.
The scorching sun.
Yeah, this year's been tough. I went through that 1-15 season. That one was not expected. This one is kind of expected, but
I mean, we went through a 0-16 season.
Yeah.
So, yeah. Like you said, I'm the NFC version of you guys.
Yeah. The Buccaneers, I think, had in the 70s 0-14.
Right.
But look, the
with
Dolphins.
Testaverde, I think, right?
No way. I think it was 70s era.
Oh, okay.
They were pretty bad with him too, but I think 70s
Yeah,
era.
they were terrible with
Yeah,
Testaverde.
the Lions set the record because it was 16 games, and it had been 14 previous to that. Not to rub that salt in your wounds. But there's something to be excited about, Dolphin fans. The Dolphins have found something that they're finally good at, and that's tanking.
There you
I
go.
mean, if this guy is trying to
Tank
lose games,
for Tua, right?
that's what they say. I kind of, the more I think about that, I don't want that guy. We've had bad luck with Alabama.
Yeah.
I really like the quarterback from Clemson. I think we can draft offensive line. We can draft other positions and still try to be competitive, maybe with Rosen next year. And then if that doesn't work out, then you go and you draft a kid from Clemson. And he I don't like the short quarterback usually.
Breeze, Russell Wilson.
I mean, they've been successful. You're giving me some of the better examples, but there's
Yeah.
for every one of those, there's other guys.
Right.
I'm kind of old school in that sense. I want my quarterback to be 6'2", 6'3", 6'4".
Right.
He's looking over the line. He can
Fucking
take a hit.
bazooka arm.
Yeah,
Right.
he's a durable guy. Even
Yeah.
though I know Kyler Murray's doing good too this year. He's on the shorter end. He had a great game against this team that was, I think they call it Honolulu Blue. I just learned that today.
We should have won that fucking game. That should have never been a fucking tie. That was terrible.
He did a furious comeback.
That wasn't furious. Our fucking defense tanked. But whatever.
Anything else about the Thomas Edward Patrick Brady led Patriots?
No, I got nothing else.
I just hope we're getting to the. We still have time though. We can go on a little bit more. It's got to be over soon though, right? How long can this guy play?
Yeah, exactly.
How long do you think?
He's 44 now, 43. He's 43.
He's like our age. Whenever I think about
We're
that,
42.
yeah,
So
I
he's
get
what, 43?
maybe or 42. I just get
Actually,
depressed.
I think he was born.
I can't even run across the
I think
lawn.
he was born. Hold on, let me look it up.
Yeah,
I think
check
he
it
was
out.
born in the same month as me.
Ah.
We're like almost the same age. This fucking guy.
I mean, he is getting into the conversation of oldest players. He's definitely in the conversation of oldest players to win a Super Bowl or to play in a Super Bowl.
Right.
And when you look at some of the players that he's in conversation with, like George Blanda and kickers, I mean, those people all look...
He's 42 years old. He's our age.
Yeah.
And he was born... Actually, he's younger than both of us. He's younger than both of us because you were born in May, right?
He
May?
was born a few days after. Yeah.
I was born in July, and he was born in August. Same year as us.
Yeah.
So this
He's definitely old, and he's a GOAT too, right?
Yeah, he's
Is he the greatest football player of
whereas
all time?
a goat
for
as
you?
the animal, he's a goat
Yeah.
that's the greatest of all time.
Exactly. Do you
He's
think
6'4", 225 pounds.
I guess I want my...
Built like an Adonis.
Yeah. Well, if you look at his draft footage, he's like a skinny, weird,
Right.
awkward dude.
Running like a 5'4" in the fucking 40.
Yeah, he's slow.
Yeah.
He's drafted in the 6th round, I think. He had a chip on his shoulder. He wasn't nothing to
20-inch vertical leap.
Yeah. Nothing to write home about in Michigan.
I think he's just a very dedicated dude. Hits the looks at the film. He's the first guy there, last guy to leave. He's very dedicated.
He loves it.
He loves the game, loves the competition. Smart fucking guy. And
He's got a fire.
I mean, you got to give the guy props, bro. He's got a fucking smoking hot wife.
I'm not a fan of Giselle.
Hey,
He's got a bit of a horse face.
But the guy,
Is he the greatest of all time in your mind?
Yeah. I mean, when
Well,
I'm
who's
on
the
my
top
death-
5 for you in no particular order?
Wow. Jeez.
That's hard to do.
Yeah, I mean,
I'll give you some of mine if you want. What do you
you
think?
could throw Montana out there, but Montana had such a fucking team, man. Like,
Yeah.
this guy's. If you look at this guy's history, this guy's really never had any superstar player besides
His
Randy
superstar player
Moss.
is Bill Belichick.
Yeah.
That's his superstar
Right.
player, who builds around them.
I mean,
exactly
you could say
what they need.
Gronkowski, but
Yeah, come on, that
guy
guy's a
was
Hall of
always
Famer.
injured. But
He's
he
a
was
Hall of
always
Famer.
injured.
He was injured a lot.
You could say Randy Moss, but he had him for what, 2 seasons?
Never won a Super Bowl with him, I don't think.
No.
Wes Walker was good. Never won a Super Bowl either. In the Super Bowl years, they had a lot
Wes
of.
Walker was
nondescript-
considered a superstar.
Yeah, dude, he's borderline. Dude,
I don't know, man.
He had like over 10,000 yards, if I'm not mistaken, which is pretty freaking
Yeah,
good,
but
man.
would you, like, if you're a defensive coordinator, would you like set up your defense like to stop him?
He would shred defenses, dude. Out of the
Yeah.
slot position, he would shred them. He's like an Edelman. Would you consider Edelman a superstar?
Not really.
Man, he has a lot of catches, dude. He's
But
a Super
fucking-
Bowl MVP.
I think Brady makes those guys superstars, bro.
Yeah, then you're gonna
'Cause
get.
then they go to another team and they're like fucking bums.
Yeah, shout out to Danny Amendola.
Hey, easy.
Has that guy caught anything over
Actually, he had a fucking great game today.
there? Really?
Yeah, he had a fucking hell of a catch.
What is a great game for him nowadays?
Yeah.
2 catches, 20 yards. Oh man, that guy was terrible, dude.
Like, I had a fucking. He's always injured too, man.
He got injured signing the contract when we drafted him. Torn ligament in his hand signing the.
Fucking arthritis.
Yeah. That's another thing, not to get racial. Why do they always have scrappy white guy receivers? Welker, Amendola,
That's true, though.
Edelman.
I mean, Boston, you know, what? They're considered like the most racist city in the fucking U.S.
They are the most racist city.
And they just happen to have like
A bunch of white
a
skill
70% fucking all white team.
in their skill positions, white running backs.
Yeah.
Why? Why is
Is that a
this?
coincidence? Or is Belichick like building like a fucking all white army?
I mean, it's just weird, dude. Other teams don't really have that in those skill positions.
Right.
You know,
and the
because
Celtics.
there's a lot of
Not to
white.
jump into basketball.
There's a lot of white guys on the Celtics
There's a
too,
lot
right?
of white
Well,
guys
let's
on
see,
fucking
McHale,
Celtics.
Bird. They had Danny Ainge.
Yeah.
You know, I'm thinking of prominent white players they had.
Right.
Who else was out there?
Was Pistol Pete Maravich was Celtic or
Well,
something?
no, he was Utah Jazz,
Yeah.
New Orleans Jazz.
Well, I've heard that's like the most racist fucking city. Yeah. Salt Lake
Who-
City.
Oh, really?
Utah, yeah.
Behind Boston, obviously.
Well, I don't know. They're up there.
I've always heard Boston is the most racist city in America. Are we almost up? All
Yeah.
right. Any parting thoughts?
I mean, to all Dolphin fans out there, fuck the Patriots, huh?
I'll make a deal with you. If the Lions make a Super Bowl, I'll go with you. If the Dolphins make a Super Bowl, you'll come with me.
There you go.
All right. That'll never fucking happen. All right, guys. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.
Till next time.